here in Monteverde, we did a study on the macroinvertebrates of the river. And this river runs through primary forest, cloud forest, and then it goes out into the town. So we compared two sites in the forest with a site in an urbanized areas. And we did that through the macroinvertebrate communities. So we looked at this community of insects and other animals that live in the river and the stream and compared the two sites. So we thought that there might be a difference of the effect of urbanization between these two microhabitats in the river. Okay, so if you do a study with macroinvertebrates, you go to the river and you have to identify the different microhabitats that are in a river, like flowing areas, slow flowing areas, the different substrates such as leaf packs or rocks and stones, pebbles. So we saw in the field, you could already tell that there's a difference in the composition of these macroinvertebrate communities, because you find, for example, much more individuals of a certain group that is more tolerant to the water, to the low oxygen level, and we call those the bloodworms. So those are larvae of non-biting midges, and they're bright red, and actually in the downstream side by the houses we found thousands of them, literally. So some pools were just full with those worms, while in the forested side you can find a much higher diversity. So we have dragonflies and damselfly larvae, caddisflies, mayflies, and many other species that you don't find in those high numbers downstream by these contaminated sites.
Dragonfly larvae, I think?
Yes.
Just know that because I caught one during our ecology class once.
There's a little caddisfly. Urbanization not only affects animals in the water, but also in other habitats, such as terrestrial habitats around the water. And that's very important, because sometimes people think that you have only the animals in the water and that's it. But there's a connection between both habitats. So you have spiders, for example, that need those for food. You have a lot of birds, and you have other animals, mammals, and bats actually also at night that feed on the emerging insects that come out of the water, because most of those insects that live in the water live there as a larval stage. So the larvae live in the water, and then the adult comes out and flies like a mayfly or as a caddisfly, and then all those other animals in the terrestrial habitat feed on them. So that's why it's very important to see this connection between the two different habitats. What people do not understand about what's happening in urbanized areas, how do they affect the water, is that it's all connected. Usually they see the water as an easy way to get rid of garbage or sewage water because it takes it away, but they don't see that it's all connected. And it's also connected to the ocean. So it takes it all way down to the ocean. So it's an ecosystem, it's a living organism. You can tell the river is a really complex ecosystem. And so it's affected by a lot of different factors, not only by the sewage water, but also, for example, by the runoff. So if it's raining and you have the urbanization, you have all these sealed concrete areas, so you have a really high runoff when it rains, and then you have this flooding in the river that is not natural. And also there's other factors that can affect the river a lot, which is, for example, all the lights along the river, which is also, it's like a kind of contamination that comes with urbanization. And so all these insects get attracted to the light, and they will not be able to reproduce anymore and do their natural role in the river and the stream. If the water keep contaminated, we would reach a point where you can return, like the point of no returning. The good thing about rivers and streams is that you can restore them, and you can get back to a certain point. That it depends on the kind of contamination you have. Like if you have contamination with heavy metals or with pesticides, you might not get rid of them anymore. But if you have organic load, you can get rid of that. Like you could plant along the rivers and the streams, you could plant vegetation that helps like a buffer zone and like a filter. And also for the runoff, that filters a lot of that water. It's important to identify the source of the contamination and get rid of that. So you need treatment plants, and yeah, to get back to the good water quality that we had before. Because obviously bad water quality has also a really negative effect on human health. So what I think needs to happen next to improve water quality, especially in urbanized areas, is a combination of many factors. So first we need to raise awareness so people don't throw their garbage away. Also they should use more environmental friendly products, for example, because everything that you use, like chlorine and soap, it ends up in the water at some point. And so you need this awareness. This is very important. So you also need political will, because it's very important to have laws, but you also need to enforce those laws. I think what's really important is that we also think of how our own actions affect the environment, and that humans are part of the environment. It's not like nature's there and humans are here. We are part of the whole system. So we are affecting the whole system, and it's going to affect us again. So we really need to be more aware of what we are doing, where our garbage is going, when we buy something in the supermarket, where it comes from, where all these little things that we do day by day affect our environment. So I think that's something really important, and that every single person can do independently of what your background is, where you live, or how much money you earn. That's something that every single individual can actually do, and that would help a lot to make things better for the earth and also for humans as a species.